Hey everybody, welcome back to Over a Pipe. My name is Martin and I'm glad to have you. Today is Let Her Rip Friday. This has been a tough week. I feel like we just did a Let Her Rip Friday and it was a tough week. There were a lot of tough weeks. This one's been a tough week. This has been a nerve-wracking week. I can't believe we're almost in the fourth quarter, or for everybody else, October. But we are almost there. So today I've got a few things that we're going to talk about, some articles that I found that I'd like to share with you, and then also a first impressions. And the first impression, as promised, will be of... Was that nice and dramatic? I feel like it was. So this is a... let's crack this baby open. We got a few things to go over, some maybe even potentially controversial topics. So I'll be smoking the Rinpoche, my first impressions out of my Tom Sawyer, corn cob, El Zippo lighter, not El, it's not really Spanish, my 300 Win Mag. Please do not smoke anything with a live round. That is a round that still has its primer set and projectile and powder within the cartridge. Do not do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't give me any liabilities. Law and Smoke will come have a word with me or something probably about it. And I will be drinking a Terrapin IPA out of Athens, Georgia. Good stuff. And in fact, this is really not good for my diet. Don't tell my wife. Don't tell my wife. Wait a minute. I forgot. My wife is my 100th subscriber. Cheers. I love IPAs. All right. So let's crack this bad boy open. So this is the Rinpoche St. James, SJ St. James, a flavorful blend of the finest flue-cured gold leaf tobaccos and a rare St. James Parish Perique. This product intended exclusively for use as pipe tobacco. Yeah. Perique, St. James Parish. All right, here we go. Yep, I love those food grade sealed tins. So here is what we are looking at. So it's a nice little ribbon cut. A lot more brights. I see a lot more bright Virginias. Ooh. I don't know if you can hear this. Make sure my mic is not interfering. Need to turn it. Let me see. Yeah, let's turn it. Let's turn it a little away from me. All right, everybody ignore it. All right, we're just going to turn it like that for now. That should be fine. But yeah, so there is some dryness to this. A lot of yellow. Some light browns. Not a lot of Perique, it seems. This is these are pretty big. Let's see. See if I can get that to focus. These are pretty big strands. Yeah, I like that. So, I mean, I like the cut. The cut's fine. It's not a fine ribbon. It's probably more of a coarse cut type ribbon. But, yeah, I think Let's try the moisture test. Let's give it a nice squeeze. Ready? So yeah, it's definitely, not too moist. In fact, I'd probably say it's on a little bit closer to the drier side. Definitely more towards the drier side. This type of yep. I'm just going to do a small load on this one. We'll get a little more in there. Definitely. Gosh, that is really raisiny. Very raisiny. Let's get a bit of a 10 note in here. Woo, super sweet. Definitely sweet. Yeah, I'm getting a lot of sweetness out of this one. Again, this is, as you can see, there is not a ton of dark in there, comparatively so to what we have been going through on these blends. So this should be a pretty light blend. I mean, there is a variety of color in this. I guess they're using the St. James fairly sparingly. I have noticed, though, that these sealed tins come a little drier. These nice sealed tins definitely come a little bit drier. Yeah, so this one's obviously a lot drier than previous ones. So, which is nice. I mean, I like that. That's fine. There's something in there. Definitely kind of plum figgy, raisin. I'm trying to smell that with my nose. Yeah, there's definitely some St. James in there. There's definitely some St. James. It's light though. Mm-hmm. It's this is a hot burning one. This is one that might take a little This one, you might have to slow that cadence down a good bit. This one's burning fast. This is definitely on the much drier side. Good tobacco though, but just won't keep that. Good tobacco. I like that one. Yeah, so we've got a few things to talk about today. I got a couple articles. This most recent one out of Stantonsburg, Tennessee. I believe, what was the website for this? Well, it was titled, let's see, Pilot Online. Excuse me, while I take a swig. Yeah, I like the IPAs with that. Indian Pale Ales for my fellows across the pond. So this is by Pilot Online. Storms and hurricanes. Hurricane Florence has devastated tobacco crops in North Carolina. So this is a pretty big deal. Reporter Alyssa Skelton says, let's see. For as far as the eye can see, yellow tobacco sags in fields that stretch across the state's coastal plains. Hurricane Florence, which hit a week ago, flooded as much as 125 million pounds of the crop here, according to estimates by Tobacco Growers Association of North Carolina. In Stantonsburg, about 100 miles from the coast, much of the fields are no longer waterlogged, but the devastation is staring down longtime farmers as they wait for insurance adjusters. Donnie Blizzard, 61, said. Blizzard and his son Luke lost 900,000 pounds of tobacco. Blizzard estimated the loss will be around $2 million. When a hurricane strikes a small agricultural community, it has ripple effects on the economy. North Carolina, and this is very interesting to me because I didn't realize it. North Carolina is the top tobacco producer in the country. Last year, farmers here earned $723 million, making it the state's most profitable cash crop. So that was out of Stantonsburg. I mean, it's just, you can go to the website, you can just see like all these plants have wilted, bushels, I mean, just fields and fields and bushels of them. I mean, it's amazing. Another article on CBS17.com. Johnston County tobacco farmers estimate 17 million in losses from Florence. Leaves at the top of their stalks are typically larger and heavier than those toward the bottom, which are harvested first. The person Spivey said lower leaves sell for about $1.25 to $1.50 a pound, while the top leaves go for $2 to $2.25 a pound. We lost 100 acres of tobacco, farmer Andy McPenny said. Close to $500,000 with the barns that we lost. Sweet potatoes, we won't know anything until we continue to harvest. So, that's tough. That's tough. Be thankful for your farmers. Be thankful for the people that get you your food. As well as your tobacco. Everybody likes eating chicken. Nobody likes harvesting the meat. But yeah, that's a tough one. Pray for those people, pray for those farmers. That is their livelihood. It's not like they can just go grab another job real quick. This is what they do. They have to prepare for anything else that they can do with that land. I just had an explosion. This stuff is absolutely significantly drier. Whew. Mercy. So we've already got one retailer fails tobacco compliance check. All but one Wahpeton, say that one 5 times fast, retailer licensed to sell tobacco products passed a recent compliance test. The one business where a minor bought tobacco was Family Dollar. In a compliance test, trained minors visit retail outlets asking to buy e-cigarettes, cigarettes, or chewing tobacco. It is illegal to sell tobacco products, including e-cigarettes and other nicotine delivery devices, in North Dakota to anyone other than the age of 18. The vast majority of tobacco users start when they're young. Yes, we know. It's awful. We're terrible people. Blah, 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 blah. Compliance test or cooperative project. We've had great buy-in, success, all that stuff. So I'm curious, well, I could have swore they were going to talk about something in here. Other than that, we're trying to prevent vaping and everything else. I was curious to see what kind of actual. Let's see. We were able to purchase 24 ID scanners for nearly $20,000. Majority of scanners, 22 total, are now all alcohol selling establishments in Wahpeton. So it looks like what they did kind of like a sting operation. They were having trained people go in and asking for tobacco. So, I mean, some of these people will card, some of them won't. Sometimes they should all card. I think most restaurants have their own. I believe if they think you're 40 or younger, you're going to get carded. Good stuff. So if you own an establishment, make sure you're watching out there. Somebody's going to send a sting operation. Florida Supreme Court says tobacco giant must pay $18.5 million in an award in a stinging rebuke of the notion that a financially independent adult child shouldn't be entitled to millions in damages for the loss of a parent. The Florida Supreme Court on Thursday ordered a cigarette maker to pay a Delray Beach woman $18.5 million for the 1993 death of her mother from lung cancer. That's a pretty big deal. I mean, that is setting a very, very interesting precedence. I can't imagine that the companies are going to stand around while those types of rulings are going on. Ooh, this stuff lights quick, burns hot. The decision brought squeals of joy from 67. I don't know why they say squeals of joy. That's terrible to say. From 67-year-old Gwen Odom, who in 2014 convinced a Palm Beach County jury that R.J. Reynolds Tobacco was responsible and should pay mightily for her 58-year-old mother's agonizing death after a lifetime of smoking. God is good, Odom, a former Palm Beach Post news assistant, said when reached by phone. They made the right decision. The 5-2 ruling wasn't completely unexpected. During oral arguments in June, Justice sharply questioned the tobacco giant's contention that Odom was entitled to such a windfall because she was financially independent from her mother and had a family of her own. On Thursday, the court answered the question by ruling that neither the legislature nor the courts have imposed limits on how much adult children can collect in such cases. It said the West Palm Beach-based 4th District Court of Appeal misinterpreted the law and erroneously capped Odom's damages when it threw out the verdict in 2016. Definitely getting some pepperiness, especially when this burns fairly hot. The jury awarded $6 million in compensatory damages, $1 million more than her attorney sought. The award was reduced to $4.5 million because the jury also found Thurston was 25% responsible for her own death by continuing to smoke despite mounting evidence of its dangers. The jury also tacked on another $14 million in punitive damages. R.J. Reynolds didn't immediately respond to a request for comment. The case, which grew out of a 1994 Miami-Dade County class action lawsuit, is among thousands it faces statewide. When the Florida Supreme Court in 2006 threw out a $145 billion verdict, it ruled that each smoker or their survivors must explain their unique damages at separate trials. Good Lord. In its ruling, the High Court said Odom may be able to recover her attorney's fees from the cigarette maker because the jury verdict was far more than the $100,000 settlement offer. In the meantime, as Odom awaits future circuit court hearings, she said she, her 2 sons, and 3 grandchildren will celebrate their good fortune even as they remember it came at the horrible price of Thurston's death. Garcia said he expects the litigation will be over by the end of the year. "I'm so happy," Odom said. "This is going to be a nice Christmas present." Odom will also be paid another $3.5 million worth of interest. Okay, so controversial question number 1. And this is, I think Gribbs had a question like this. It was definitely a chicken or the egg kind of question. Is it the cigarette company's fault? The tobacco company's fault? Or is it the consumer's fault? What do you think? Leave your comment down in the little doobly-doo down here and let me know. Last controversial one. Do you think it's a good idea to raise the tobacco use age to 21? A Metro News article by Ann Norman, special to Cleveland.com. Cleveland Heights in the last Northeast Ohio city is the last Northeast Ohio city to consider raising the minimum age for buying tobacco, e-cigarettes, vapes, and assorted other smoking paraphernalia from 18 to 21. What do you think? Alcohol is 21. What do you think? Should it be raised? There was a couple comments about this. One person says, sure, why not? Let them smoke weed instead. Another person said, if someone chooses to smoke, let them. But increase taxes on all tobacco products to adequately reflect the long-term health care costs all of us will pay for smokers' multiple illnesses. In a world, a one payer system type world, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. No smoking or alcohol until age 28. Supposedly by then, the human brain has then matured properly. Has it? Extensive research shows that the primary source of tobacco for underage teens is peers, friends, siblings who are 18 to 21. Raising the purchasing age to 21 has repeatedly been demonstrated to reduce teen tobacco use, helping them avoid a deadly habit. Interesting. This is supposed to be a free country. Whether people smoke or not is none of the government's business. Car crashes kill people instantly, but smoking takes a couple decades to seriously affect a person's health. I don't know about that one. One person says, no, at 18, we believe people are old enough to vote, serve their country, but you're saying they're not old enough to decide on nicotine. Just in case you forgot, Audie Murphy was 19 when he performed the acts of bravery that made him the hero he is. No, Big Brother has his claw in too much already. Make no mistake, this is prohibition, and prohibition involves law enforcement. In Parma Heights, they would love the idea of another petty law. Stop them, shake them down, and add more money for the city since they are broke. Yeah, you get a lot of rough talking about some of this stuff. I mean, there's so many different sides to it. I for one feel that if somebody can go and die for their country, if we think they are competent enough to vote for whichever president, and they're held to such a higher standard at that point because they're no longer minors. Are we going to raise the limit of minor then? So, because minors are, legally incompetent, are we saying you're legally incompetent till you're 21? So can you now not get a binding contract with anybody until they're 21? What other things should you raise the age limit on? So in the comments below, tell me if you think that 21 is an adequate age for tobacco use. And if not, why not? And if there was something that should, say, be required to have an age of 21, what is that? Maybe legal contracts. Maybe you shouldn't be able to buy a car till you're 21. I mean, if you can't decide for yourself, I don't know. You tell me. I'm just here. I'm tossing out the information. I find it fascinating, though. This stuff is definitely peppery. Losing a lot of the Virginias because I think it's just burning away hot. Definitely a lighter smoke. God, it's burning fast, though. Might have to work on this blend for a little while. It's got a good smoke, but it's just burning really, really fast, and it's hard to pull out some of those other flavors of those Virginias, because there's a lot of Virginias in there, but I am tasting a lot of St. James. got to really slow it down to try and get some of that tobacco. Some of those, almost like a caramel, almost like a bit of a caramel flavor is what I'm getting on that. But you got to be real slow to get it. But yeah, that's it. That's my first impression of, I swear, I'm not drunk, the Rinpoche St. James. And so far, so good. So we're going to try it out for a little while. Sip it. Make sure you sip it. Get you some Rinpoche. Go stick it in your pipe and smoke it. Y'all have a good weekend. Out again. This is a tough one. $18.5 million. Amazing. All right, everybody. Have a great weekend. I will see you next week.